Hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. Apologies for the wind noise and any road noise you might hear in the background. I'm quite close to a main road here. I've got some footage that I want to show you of a couple of challenges that I wanted to talk about that I've had recently. So here is that footage. If you want to skip forward to the vlog itself, I'm going to put a timestamp up here so you can see where you can skip forward to. I just thought it was quite important to talk about those challenges because they are things which do affect my photography, how I shoot and what I do to overcome those challenges. But like I said, if you don't want to watch that, there is a timestamp that you can skip forward and I'll get the vlog started in just a moment for you. Today I'd like to talk to you about a couple of things that have happened to me recently regarding my photography that have made me have to stop and rethink what I'm doing and try and come up with a second choice option, another plan for something. So sometimes plans change and things happen which mean that I have to then think more carefully about what I'm doing. And there are a couple of instances that I'd like to let you know about which have happened recently. But before I do that, please remember to give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and remember to subscribe to my channel. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about is regarding the battery of this particular camera. About 18 months ago, back in June of 2021, I bought the Canon EOS RP camera, which is the camera that I'm filming with at the moment. And it came with a genuine Canon battery charger, which you can see there. I've unplugged it from its plug at the moment, but that's the charger itself, genuine Canon charger. But also it came with a genuine Canon LPE17 battery, which at the moment is in the camera recording this vlog. What I noticed a couple of weeks ago was I was recording a vlog, and at the end of the vlog I looked at the camera's LCD display, which was giving me a readout of all the information I needed, and that showed that the camera itself, the battery, needed to be recharged. So after the vlog I came home, took the battery out of the charger, at the camera, sorry, put it onto charge and left it charging for a while, and then eventually came back to it and I thought the battery was charged. So I put the battery back into the camera, switched on the camera, and according to the LCD display, it was still showing that the battery needed to be charged. And I couldn't quite work this one out at the time, so I took the battery back out of the camera, put it back into the charger, tried to charge it again, and this time it only seemed to be charging for a minute or so, and then it told the charger was showing the green light, which tells me that the battery itself is fully charged. So I took the battery off the charger, put it back in the camera, switched on the camera, and again the battery readout meter on the back of the LCD screen was showing me that the battery still needed to be charged. So I thought this was very strange. So what I decided to do was to buy myself a third-party battery charger, and it's this one here. This is a double charger, as you can see, 2 slots for batteries, but it also came with 2 third-party batteries, just like this one here, which could be charged in the charger. Now the third-party charger has got a USB cable built into it, so that can be plugged into any plug that can go into the wall, or it can even be charged by plugging it into a laptop or a power bank if I'm on the go. So I thought that would solve my problem, and in the meantime I decided to have a look again at the battery, the original Canon battery, to see what the situation was with that, and it was still showing that the battery needed to be charged, and I think there was enough time left on the battery, just a small amount of time according to the meter, for me to record another vlog. So while I waited for the third-party battery charger and the third-party batteries to arrive, I decided I was going to try and see if I could get one more vlog out of whatever time was left on the original Canon battery. When I came back, and it was only a day or so for my new charger to be sent to me, so by the time that was delivered and I came back from the vlog, I took my Canon battery out of the camera, plugged in the third-party charger, and actually tried to put the Canon battery on charge on the third-party charger. Now, all of the Amazon information on the Amazon website was telling me that with this third-party charger I wouldn't be able to charge the Canon battery. But what I discovered, thankfully, was that the Canon battery does actually charge on the third-party charger. Now, that surprised me a little bit, but also it charged for a little while, which suggested to me that there was some battery that needed charging, some more charge that the battery needed. Now, I thought at the time that that must be because I'd taken it out for one more vlog whilst I was waiting for the charger to arrive, and that the charger was just then charging up that last little bit. So it made me think that actually the battery all along was fully charged. But things have taken a little bit of a turn since then. Obviously now I've got 2 spare batteries and a spare charger, which I'm quite happy about, so that's a good thing. And it means that just in case I need to use those when I'm on the go in the future, there's always something extra there to keep my batteries charged, just in case I need to use them. But since then, what I've noticed is that now the battery indicator on the LCD screen on the back of the camera is actually working. I don't know how that's happened, and I don't know what's happened, but for some reason it wasn't working, and I've ordered a new battery and charger for the camera just in case, and it turns out I didn't need to do that. I don't mind, because I do now have the spares, but I was just baffled by that completely. I didn't understand why the screen, the LCD screen, the meter on there was telling me that the battery needed to be charged, when in actual fact it was probably fully charged. I still can't quite work that one out, so I'm going to keep an eye on it and let you know what happens with that in the future. But hopefully that's kind of sorted itself out now. Now, the second thing that happened, which actually happened when I went out to record my most recent vlog, about a week or so ago, I'd taken some photos, some macro style photos, which I'd then posted on Instagram and social media. And a close friend of mine said to me, "Don't you have some macro extension tubes?" And I suddenly thought, actually, yeah, I do. I bought some macro extension tubes years ago to use when I had my old EF mount cameras. That's the old digital SLRs. And now that I've got a mirrorless camera, they don't fit natively to the camera itself, so I have to use a mount adapter to mount lenses and extension tubes and everything else to the camera. These are the extension tubes themselves. That's all they are, just a set of tubes that you can even unscrew, and you can make them smaller or keep them that size, and basically they just simply clip onto the mount of the camera, the lens mount of the camera, and then you put the lens onto the front of the extension tubes, and you can use those to foreshorten the distance between your lens and the subject that you're trying to shoot, therefore creating macro style images. It's not a perfect solution, but I went out with the intention, sorry about that noise, I went out with the intention of trying to use these extension tubes on the camera to take some macro style photos. And I started the vlog off, started recording, and then tried putting the tubes onto the extension tubes onto the camera, and then put the lens on, tried to set everything up and focus on the subject, got everything perfect, ready to go, and tried to press the shutter button, and for some reason the shutter wouldn't fire at all. So I pressed it a few times and there was nothing at all. And the only thing I can think is that because these extension tubes don't have any electronic connections or anything like that, they're just metal tubes which literally fit onto the camera and then connect the lens to the front of them. Because they don't have any kind of electronic connectors at all, when I'm using the RF mount camera with an EF to RF mount lens adapter and then putting the extension tubes onto that, what I'm finding is there's no connection at all between the camera and the lens, because the mount adapter itself doesn't have a connection either. So the problem I've got is that with these extension tubes I couldn't actually fire off a shot at all. I could see what I was looking at, I got everything focused up perfectly, but I just couldn't fire off a shot. Now I think there are a couple of solutions to this. The first one is with the Canon EOS RP camera, I can go into the menu system and I can enable an option to shoot without a memory card. Now the reason this may work is because when you're shooting without a memory card, the camera itself switches off all of the electronic connections that are external to the camera. So what I'm thinking is that maybe if I can then connect the extension tubes to the camera and then connect the lens to the extension tubes, if I decide to switch off, enable that option to shoot without a memory card, it will switch off all the connections and it will still allow me to shoot with anything that's got no actual electronic connection on the camera. I hope that makes a bit of sense to you. What it basically means is that because the extension tubes don't have any kind of electronic connection to the camera, I should still be able to use those extension tubes on the camera. So I'm going to give that a try the next time I go out. I don't know for certain whether it will work, but that's one possible option. Now another possible option, of course, is to just simply buy myself a dedicated macro lens. Now of course that's going to take a few quid. I've got to spend a bit of time saving up some money to be able to do that, but hopefully that's another possibility for creating macro style shots. So I've come to this spot because I was literally just walking down this path and trying to find the best path where there's the least mud. It is autumn, it is late autumn of course, and we find ourselves with the leaves being blown off the trees because of the wind that you can hear all around me anyway. But also we've had quite a bit of rain over the last few days, so that's made everywhere very muddy and mucky with slippy leaves all over the place as well. It's going to be great fun walking through this woodland today, I can tell you. So watch out for me landing in quicksand or ending up on my arse in mud, because that could be quite a lot of fun for you. Anyway, just behind me I've seen this scene here, and I've noticed it before. There's a couple of trees that have both fallen just at the edge of the path and kind of crossed over each other right at the edge of the path, but then the main tree then forms this framework over the top of the path with the path leading underneath it, which is quite interesting. And with all these yellow and orange leaves on the floor now, there's a beautiful colour as you go along that path leading from the trees itself. So I've focused on the trees at f4 because I want those trees to be in focus. I don't mind about the path further back not being in focus. So provided my main subject, which is these two trees here framing the path nicely, is in focus, then I'm quite happy with that. It's going to be an exposure bracketed image because there's a lot of dynamic range from the light above from the sky and also the darkness and the shadows down below on the floor, on the woodland floor. I'm going to move on and see if I can find another shot now. I've photographed this scene behind me several times, mainly in the spring and summer when the colours are very, very different and the light in here is very, very different as well. As you'll see, the way the light is kind of dappling through the trees at the moment, it's quite nice, quite a nice little type of highlight there, which really kind of brings the colour out in these leaves behind me. But during the spring and summer you see all these leaves on the trees. The tree canopy is a much darker green and there's much more of it because there's obviously no leaves falling off the trees at that point. But what that does is it changes the way the highlights look in the sky, and it actually blocks out much more of the sky than what you can see here behind me. So the light is very, very different. But then just at the back of the scene, you'll notice as you go through here to the very back of the scene, just over there, there's a little bit of light coming through where the trees open up, and then there's a few more trees a little way beyond there. I'd quite like to go over there and see what this scene looks like from the other side, but also see if there's a decent composition of those trees behind that little bit of shaft of light there. So I'm going to set up a couple of shots here. I hope you like these, and then I'm going to move on. Well, I've got to say I'm glad I did that. I walked through that little bit of woodland that I'd photographed before, that little cutting, and what I found was that as I got to the back of it, these trees kind of led into an interesting woodland just here, which all seems to be quite young trees, which have obviously been planted at some point, and they've really just about started to mature now. But as I'm walking through here, I found an interesting shot of one particular tree, and I thought I'll stop and take a photo of that. So I stopped, set the tripod up, took a photo of the tree, took the camera off, put the tripod away, started to walk a little bit further through this woodland, and then found that that tree that I'd photographed actually looked a lot better from the opposite side of the tree. So I stopped again and took a quick handheld shot of that. I'm not sure which one's going to make the edit, perhaps both of them, but there's also possibly an unexpected panorama in there as well from a little bit further back on the other side of that cutting. So I'm going to move on and see if I can find anything else now. I hope you like the images I've posted now, and there may just be one or two more after this. Well, that was quite interesting. I walked past this tree once and carried on down the path along here, and then I saw how the light was dappling through the trees, and I thought, well, I wonder what it will look like on the side of that tree. And as you can see, it looks beautiful just on this side of the tree here. So I went back, took a photo of the tree and the path itself running along the side of the tree, because I think this branch here kind of frames the whole scene quite well. I initially shot it with a 17 to 40mm lens at 40mm, and I wasn't totally sure about it, and I thought, well, can I get forward a little bit, step forward a few feet and see if the image is any better. And then I suddenly thought, well, why not put the 50mm lens on and try it with that instead. So I've shot with the 50mm lens as well. I don't know which one I prefer, so I hope you like whichever image I'm showing you here now. So this tree has really got me going. There it is behind me once again. I've now come the other side of that tree and tried to photograph it from the opposite direction, because as I walked past the tree down this path to where I am now, what I noticed was the light on the side of the tree was even better on this side. However, I also noticed there was this much darker tree just in front of it, and I think that looked quite nice as a portrait orientation shot when you put the two together. It's very interesting, and once again, purely and simply because of the high dynamic range within the woodland and within the photo, I've had to bracket the exposures here. So I hope you like that image. I've also just noticed as I'm standing here, the Exmoor ponies are wandering around quite near to me. I'll see if I can spot one and give you a little bit of footage before I go. But in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this vlog, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.